Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we're going to be talking about The Unbreakable Boy. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. Uh. Hmm. Hmm. I'm really trying to think. I guess I could label Zachary Levi. I mean, I know he's talked about a lot these days because of politics and shit. I'm not gonna go over that because it's not relevant. But he is a recognizable face at least, and voice too. He did voice Flynn Rider, aka Eugene, in Tangled. So there's that. And I remember him from the Alvin and Chipmunks too. He was only there because Jason Lee, he couldn't film couldn't really be there for Chipmunks 2, so they had to write him off by having him get injured. So they brought in Toby to fill his place. Yeah, Flynn Rider, aka Eugene, yeah. So that I forgot he was in the Thor movies. I think we all forgot he was in those movies. And then, of course, we got Shazam, which was a hit. And then I'll go over the rest of it when we get to the cons. But Zachary Levi is a recognizable face, and I will always label that as a pro. So that's pro number one. I can't think of. Well, I guess there's no audience score, probably because very few people have watched this movie. But I guess I can read into it. I feel like. Okay, let me see. Uh, why do I have this strong feeling that all these people are above the age of 50, maybe 60? Just reading some of these, I get that vibe. They got 5 star. What a good story and testimony. I don't really need my movies to be a testimony, but whatever you do, you. uh, okay. We got 5 stars. We were looking for a movie that didn't have foul language, violence, nudity, or sexually explicit content. Huh? There are plenty of movies like that. Like, you know, yeah, that sentence right there tells me this was written by an old person. Right there. So I'm gonna continue it. We also wanted a story. My bad. We also wanted a story that would stimulate conversation between us. This movie was beautifully acted, and the story was wonderful. We left the theater having accomplished all of our objectives. We cannot recommend this movie highly enough. Bravo. That's a 5 stars. Uh, yeah, most of these are 5 stars. Oh, we got something different. We got 1.5 stars. Says the screenplay is a decent cross section of life for a family that is going through a lot, but it's muddy and resolved in multiple areas. Seems like Austin's character gets pushed aside quite often and returns only when the story runs out of energy and it needs a quick pick me up. Overall, this film falls into the it's just okay category. Yeah, I remember seeing a video about this movie in the trailer, and one of the big people were just like, oh, he's just gonna it's not really gonna be about Austin here, who has autism. It's not really about him. It's more about the family. And I feel like the movie's kind of brushing him off to the side, and yeah, people were not gonna be on board with that. And it seems like that's basically what's going on. Uh, There's another one. Geez. This one's a little brutal. Uh, Half star. Having a person star in the movie that thinks vaccines cause autism. About what it's like to have a child with autism is disgusting. This is a travesty of casting that does not deserve you to see it. Just read the book. Oh, okay. This person was not holding back. Oh boy, another review written by someone who's absolutely an old person. Imagine removing shooting, explosions, nudity, swearing, and just having a movie with an original storyline, talented acting, and a wholesome message for a change. So you want boring shit. That's what I'm reading. Like you don't want like anything like remotely interesting. And besides, like you act like all movies are like this. Like there are plenty of movies that are not like this. Wild Robot is not that. Like that. Like what are you talking about? Does this person even watch movies? Like come on. Like if you want something like arguably that's infinitely better than this, like an infinitely better family movie, just watch Wild Robot. I recommend that movie to anybody. So, well, we got another 1 star. It says this movie should be a slam dunk, feel good experience. It is not. I think movies like this have been trying too hard to force an emotion and have slid on solid writing and character development. Wanted an escape, but it just fell flat. Yeah, that's an issue I kind of see with movies like this, where it tries way too hard to like pull at your heartstrings that it low key becomes emotionally manipulative. Like it rubs me the wrong way. Like it doesn't feel genuine. It feels very forced. And I don't like that. Like it doesn't feel real. So yeah, I'm kind of on board with that last audience review. Because that's the vibe I get with this movie. Uh but yeah, most of these are like 5 stars, 4 stars, but some of these are just like mm. uh yeah, I guess the core audience likes this thing. I'll say though the core audience likes it. So I guess that's a pro ish. I don't know. I can't think of any other pros, so let's go to cons. Review wise, 48% critic score. That's not like awful or anything, but it's not good. But I can't even like. I mean, why can't mention audience score because it's not there because very few people have watched this. All I have is a critic score. Yeah, 48%, not great. I'll label that as a con. Another con this movie had, I feel like I thought about, before it was coming out. Okay. Subject of autism. Okay. When you are doing anything regarding autism, you're playing a bit of a dangerous game because if you screw up and get shit wrong and you present it in a way that is cartoonish and unrealistic, people are going to be on your ass. And this has happened more than once. Or it's just going to be a meme like what happened with The Good Doctor. Okay. The I am a surgeon, that whole scene is just embarrassing. So, yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that fate. And you sure as shit don't want the fate of it was a movie called Music from Sia. It was like in 2021. That movie got a lot of hate for how it portrayed autism. And yeah, you don't want that. So like if you're gonna like portray autism like in like a movie or a show, you gotta do it right. And you gotta do it like tastefully. And you gotta do it in a way that it won't piss people off. So yeah. And it feels like here it's not really like pissing people off to a high degree. Some people will probably just be a little annoyed by its portrayal. So, yeah, I guess the subject matter, I don't know. It's more of like a, is it really a con? Like, it can be a con depending on how it's portrayed, but I guess like a minor con is how you portray like the subject matter of autism. So that's a con. Another con is the fact that this movie, I shit you not, this movie was supposed to come out in 2022. I remember having a poster for 2022. I think it was March of 2022. And then out of nowhere, it was gone. It disappeared, just vanished in thin air, and no one knew what happened to it. It just was just gone from the calendar. And for years, it was just floating in the ether, just not existing. Until like last year when Lionsgate finally decided, you know what, let's release this thing, and they released it, now. But I honestly believe, I mean, some people might be like, oh well, the music, that movie, and just how offensive it was, may have put caused some like pause with Lionsgate when it comes to releasing this thing. No, I kind of believe that the studio legitimately forgot this even existed for a while until some executive was like, hey, that unreleased movie we got, maybe we should release it at some point. And they're like, oh shit, you're right, we should release it. Might as well. So that's what I believe happened. They just forgot it existed. But yeah, the fact that this movie, it took 3 years for this to come out, that is ridiculous. It's literally what happened with that White Bird movie that came out last year that nobody saw. Same story. That took wait. It was delayed for years. It wasn't even like some big event movie or something that people would wait to see. It was nothing like that. So, like, this movie, it was never going to be a big event. It doesn't look cinematic in the slightest. It looks like something. I don't even know if. I think I saw like a comment on like one of my polls mentioning how uncinematic it looked, and they were mentioning how it didn't even look. It wasn't even like good for Netflix. It looked more like, kind of feels more like a Hallmark movie or something. I know that's low, but it kind of, I do get that vibe. So it's not even like Wonder or anything. Like, Wonder was a big hit in 2017, but that was like one that had a stronger release date, two, stronger cast, and three, it was just marketed a whole lot more than this. So yeah, the fact that it took 3 years for this to come out, I'm labeling that as a con because that is just ridiculous. Let's see, another con, Lionsgate. I mentioned how they've had such a horrible time last year, having like barely like no winners like at all. When your biggest movie only opens like makes like $40 million, there might be an issue going on. But this year's been a little better. Den of Thieves 2 didn't embarrass itself too much, or Flight Risk. Both were number one, but neither have done all that great. So it's still not in a great spot. Ballerina should do well. That should finally give them like a real blockbuster movie. The first they've had in like 2 years. So yeah, at least they got that coming up. But yeah, Lionsgate's still in a rut, and this movie's not going to help them at all. So I'm labeling Lionsgate as a con. And there's also the fact that there's direct competition out there. There's Dogman. There's Paddington in Peru. You got those movies. I feel like people would rather just watch those than this. So yeah, direct competition. I'll label that as a con. And is that it? Well, yeah, Zachary Levi. Let's go back to him real quick. So I mentioned his. Oh, oops. I mentioned his success stories. Let's mention it. Let's talk about his failures, because that's important. The last few years for Zachary Levi on the big screen have not been very good. I mean, American Underdog, no one paid much attention to that. Shazam 2 bombed utterly. And then Harold and the Purple Crayon last summer flopped hard as well. So he's on a real losing streak. And it doesn't help when you have like reports that, you know, he was mad about what happened with Shazam because he wanted to be like as big as Chris Evans and The Rock. And that kind of just screams jealousy to me. And jealousy is not a good thing to have. It never is. So it's not a good trait. So yeah, stuff like that doesn't really help his image. It really doesn't. So yeah, the fact that he hasn't been in like any hit movies in the last few years, I will label that as a con. And I think that's it with so opening weekend. This is projected to make I think $2 million opening weekend. So oof, yikes. I know that is definitely not what Lionsgate was hoping for. I mean, this movie's only in like less than 1,700 theaters, so I'm not surprised the box office is this low. But then again, you have the Nia 2, a Chinese flick that is the biggest animated movie ever. So the first movie to make $1 billion in just one market, that's been brought over here, and that's doing way better than this. So what does that tell you, right? Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with 2 to 3 million, probably closer to 2 million, and its final total maybe like 5 to 7 million, and that's it. That's it. And then we're done for the weekend. Ooh, very easy weekend to deal with. And next week will be even easier because it is so uninteresting. We got Last Breath, and then Mobile Suit Gundam beginning. And then, yeah, that's it. So February is going to end on a real low note, if you couldn't tell. So, yeah. Yeah, and honestly, we won't really... I mean, looking at, like, March and stuff, I'm not really interested in talking about, like, any of these movies, except maybe Snow White, and that's because of all the online backlash that it's been receiving for years. So I have something to talk about there. Everything else, I'm just like, eh. So, yeah, just these next few weeks are not gonna be like the most fun when it comes to prediction videos, but I gotta do it. So, stay tuned for those videos. But yeah, so that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. You want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage. All previous prediction videos I made this year, the past few years. You want to watch any of those videos, go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I went over all the movies that were supposed to come out, didn't. I talked about Unbreakable Boy once, at least in a video. Directly in a video. It was episode 229. I talked about it alongside Civil War and Speak No Evil when they got their 2024, but no, when they changed their dates. And even like in my description, I wrote but the one thing that caught me off guard was the news that The Unbreakable Boy, a movie that was supposed to come out in 2022, was coming out in 2025. No joke. I forgot this movie even existed until now. Crazy. That is literally what I wrote. And I still feel the same way. Because, just, seriously. So that was like the one time I really talked about Unbreakable Boy. So if you want to watch that episode of Canceled or any other episodes I've done on the channel, all 250 of them, you want to binge watch them all, go right ahead. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. February recap, that will be within the first 2 weeks of March. That video is mainly just going to be talking about Captain America and not much else. I can just tell already, because that's the story of February. So, yeah, stay tuned for that video. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos of me on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.